The full moon in Leo is coming up, so you know I had to do the Leos justice and do a tarot reading for this lunation. My name is Mimi Folco. I'm an astrologer, tarot reader, numerologer, Reiki practitioner, bunch of healing things, I do them. So we are going to be doing a reading for the full moon in Leo, which is happening on the 16th of February this year, 2022. What is a foundational understanding of a full moon in Leo is addressing where you allow yourself to truly shine, where you allow yourself to fully express yourself, versus how you feel connected to a larger community, right? Because a full moon is always going to be opposite the sun. We're in Aquarius season. We are dealing with sort of the weirder, unexpected, larger community things. We are dealing with finding a community of people that think like us. But then with the moon in Leo, it's actually about, well, how do I personally want to express myself? How do I personally want to express my creativity or live in my joy or simply just let myself shine? Leo is the zodiac sign ruled by the sun, and the sun does not dull for anybody, right? Leo doesn't dull for anybody. Leo knows what they have to offer, and what they have to offer is friendliness, is joy, is creativity, is a childlike sense of wonder. This specific full moon is working really well with the nodes. So if you don't know, the nodes recently shifted into Taurus and Scorpio. If you want to know more about that for you specifically, I have a tarot reading for that. I'll put it up in the cards. But for the purposes of today's reading, it's important to know how those nodes are affecting you because they are working very well with this full moon, or I should say the full moon is working really well with the nodes. So if you are experiencing a sudden sense of purpose when it comes to relationships, maybe the North Node is traveling through your 7th house, and this full moon in Leo may show you exactly how you need to express yourself in order to get the exact sort of relationship that you're looking for. That's just an example. We're going to be really diving in deep with the cards, seeing what they have to say about this full moon in Leo for you. Something to consider also about this full moon as Leo is to think about the cycle that you've had with Leo. So what I like to do is to reflect on the last 6 months and how I have grown when it comes to the topics that Leo speaks on. So for this lunation specifically, the new moon in Leo was on August 7th, 2021. So think about where you were then, especially when it comes to your creativity, to your ability to express joy, and your ability to sit within your own expression freely and confidently, and see how you've grown over the last 6 months, because that's a really good reflection to see how this Leo has really helped you grow and pushed you. Another thing to consider is your whole astrology chart. If you have a lot of fixed signs, which are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, this full moon might be affecting you on a much stronger level, especially because those nodes are also in fixed signs. If you want to know more about how transiting astrology is affecting you on a personal basis, reach out to me and you can book an astrology session. I right now have a referral system where if you refer somebody to me for an astrology session, you then get 20% off of your next astrology booking. I'm also going to be beginning a segment on this channel, which is a cosmic guidance segment. I really want to connect with you guys on a personal level and answer whatever questions you have about your life, about your purpose, about your relationships using your chart. So if you have a burning question, if you want to know what something in your chart means, feel free to email me at harveymountainalchemy@gmail.com, or you can also book a session at harveymountainalchemy.com. I'm also still continuing this giveaway, so we are 3/4 of the way through. At the time that I'm filming this, I'm at about 750 subscribers. So if you don't know, once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I am giving away a bunch of prizes. This is going to include a bunch of different kinds of readings, tarot, astrology, numerology, maybe even some Reiki. And so once I hit 1,000, I'll be announcing who those winners are. All you have to do to enter is subscribe to this channel, follow me on Instagram, and then comment below so that I know you did those things and I'll enter you into the giveaway. Lastly, another little plug for a podcast that I've been working with. If you don't know, I have been a part of this Stars Made Me Do It podcast, where we take a casual but informative view on astrology, and we're trying to teach the basics of astrology or even teach some of the more advanced techniques on a simplified level. So if you're interested in that, you can go check that out. That's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you usually get your podcasts. We're even on YouTube too, and we're starting to get some video function going. All right, I have got your piles down on the table. Let's get to this reading. I want to know what this full moon is bringing you. All right, so we are picking from pendulums today. So pile 1, you've got this Aqua Aura quartz. Pile 2, you've got this rose quartz. And pile 3, you've got this 7 chakra pendulum. Okay, pile 1, you have chosen this Aqua Aura quartz pendulum. I love this crystal. It's actually, I feel like it's quite unique, and honestly I think of it very much as a great crystal for Aries or even fire signs in general. It's very calming, but at the same time it's very energized, which I know sort of go against each other, but there's this almost like focused energy that comes with Aqua Aura, but it's also very serene. So we're going to look at where you are now, where you were 6 months ago, what your joy looks like. Yeah, so let's get started with where you are right now. When it comes to, there we go. We've got the Emperor. That is fiery right there. And this is ruled by Aries. So that's quite interesting that I had mentioned that about the Aqua Aura quartz. So where you are right now, almost as though you are taking the power back from your joy, almost like somebody else, you had given your power to somebody else and they had that control over your happiness and your joy and your ability to express yourself. So where you are right now is sort of sitting in the comfort. Yeah, and I needed to check the bottom of this deck. You got the Ace of Pentacles right at the bottom, that at the foundation and at the base of all of this, you are really starting to sit into your own and acknowledge that you are in control of yourself. You are in control of how you express yourself. You are in control of how you sit in your joy. And I think that is going to be really, really important for you. Where you were 6 months ago, let's look at that in comparison. Because I think it's really important not to compare yourself to others, but to compare yourself to who you were before. So where you were 6 months ago, you got the King of Swords and the Seven of Swords. There was a lot going on in the mental space. There was a lot going on about what you think you needed to do. It almost felt like you had to control the way that you thought about certain things. And I think especially the way that you thought about you. The Seven of Swords is really speaking of letting go and releasing those thoughts that don't serve you anymore. And where you got this fire and earth for where you are right now, you have this sense of balance and understanding of self. Where you were 6 months ago was a deep fear that you didn't know who you were, that you were lacking purpose, that you were unsure of the next moves to make. Because the Seven of Swords knows that it needs to move forward, but it cannot carry all of those swords with it. You can see that there are 2 swords put down because she does not have the capacity to hold all of that weight. And I almost feel like 6 months ago, you were realizing you cannot hold all of the weight of other people's judgments or other people's thoughts or even your projection of what they're thinking of you. I don't even think that you were being judged so harshly. Some of you, maybe some of you were, but for the most part, it was your own concerns about what people would think rather than what people were actually saying to you. You are really being asked to master your thoughts and master. I also think that you weren't really looking at your emotions very clearly. You weren't really looking at how you felt when you expressed yourself or how you were made to feel by others when you did finally step out on a ledge and express yourself, express your feelings. So 6 months ago, that's where you were. I want to pick a card for what your joy looks like, and I'm going to pick from this Curious Creatures deck. What does your joy look like, pile 1? Okay, this guy wants to come out. The Ten of Pentacles. Wow. I do feel like there's, and I mean, this is also very much me, fire and earth, watching this right now, that there's somebody out there who has a lot of fire and earth placements in their chart because they have a need to express, they have a need to be inspired, to be excited, to enjoy themselves, to live in a creative space, but also wants to feel stable and secure. And so I think for you, it's this ultimate expression of stability is what your joy looks like. Of that sensation of feeling safe. And not just like financially or physically, I mean more feeling safe to express yourself. If there's an artist out there who's watching this, which I assume there always is, that ability to just put your art out there without fear of other people because you are holding that stability. You are holding the safety for yourself. You're holding the space for you to feel safe, to share your expression of self, to share that heart. Because Leo is it rules the heart. It's all about your heart's desires. It's all about what your heart really wants to release in a way that is seen, that is valued, that is heard, and that is validated. So what does your joy look like? It looks like a lack, or not a lack, I don't want to say lack because that comes off negatively, but an absence of worry of judgment of others. So that is what your true joy looks like. And however you want to express yourself, you can do it whatever way you want. That is amazing. You know, that we've got this full moon energy, which is we've got this Aquarius going on. You get to be you. You get to be unique and individual and independent from what everybody else might push on you to do. It's just about following that heart's desires, that Leo energy. So I want to look at how you can push yourself. What is the best way for you to push yourself here? Especially because of those swords, I think that maybe there was a hesitance to push yourself. Oh, interesting. We've got the Hanged Muse. So it's almost like pushing yourself is telling yourself to slow down. And that's interesting because you are at the Emperor right now. You know, that's sort of the phase that you're in is, wow, well, I do have all of the power. I do have all of the control over myself, over my actions, over my thoughts, over my feelings. So almost like there's a want to move forward with all of that, but almost what would be a better way to push yourself is to say, I don't have to. Just because I can, just because I can fully express myself, just because it's almost like even by, you fully embodied your ability to express yourself, you fully embodied your ability to feel joy and live in your truth, in the happiest sense. But there's still a part of you that wants to do that out loud, because you still want that validation from others. And that is very Leo. There's like this tendency for Leo to want to be on stage. And sometimes that can come off quite unevolved, where you are seeking approval from others. And that's sort of exactly what we're not trying to do here. So this full moon in Leo, I almost want you to express yourself in the most beautiful way that makes sense to you, and then not share it to anybody, because that is for you. That beautiful expression of self is for you. And this Hanged Muse wants you to slow down and wants you to see things from a different perspective, but that different perspective is yours, not from others. I feel like you're so focused on how other people are viewing you right now that it's time to see the perspective of your own view of you. Does that make sense? I hope so. So let me know if that resonates and what's going on with you right now. So let's see what else needs to come up for this full moon in Leo. We've got Strength, which is literally a Leo card. Fantastic. Let's see. Okay, and that guy jumped right out on top of the Seven of Swords for where you were 6 months ago, and that was the World. It really feels like there's a part of your world that you have to leave behind. And I almost feel like this is ruled by Saturn, which rules the father. And I feel like somebody out there maybe is dealing with a parental figure that they always were seeking approval from. And it is not your job to ask your parents to love you. It is not your job to ask your parents to approve of you or validate your feelings. That is their job, to understand their child. So I think for anybody out there who is seeking approval from an outside source, of somebody whose responsibility it is to take care of you, any sort of guardian or mentor or anyone, who's responsible for you, that maybe it's time to let that go. And maybe the real lesson here is to learn what does stay with you, to learn what you do take with you and what it is that you do leave behind. There are 7 swords in this picture. She's carrying 5. She is letting go of 2. So whatever was going on 6 months ago, and maybe it is specifically with the father for some of you, and maybe for others, it's sort of just like some authoritative person in your life. There's something that really does need to be let go. And throughout all of this entire reading, there really is a message of not allowing other people's perspective of you to dictate how you move forward in your life. Your opinion of you is the only one that really matters. So I think that you really need to work on giving yourself that love, and of validating yourself in that way. All right, I'm losing the sense in my feet, but that's okay. So I do want to pick 1 or 2 more cards from this Love is Love deck. And I actually meant to grab the Moonology, so I'm going to grab that in a moment. You've got the 2 of Pentacles. It really is about finding balance, finding the balance between between who has authority over you, right? Because the Emperor showed up. The Emperor is the father of the majors too. So that's interesting that the dad came up for me with the World card. Finding the balance between who does have authority over you. And I think this could also really play up in work, right? That we think work is everything, and what the boss says goes. I have to do what the boss says. The boss only rules one area of your life. The boss doesn't rule your personal life. It doesn't rule your spiritual life. It rules your work life. And that is it. So finding, I feel like somebody out there needs to hear, like, just because your boss says that, like, you work for them, that doesn't mean they own you, okay? So something about that really needed to come through. I'm going to grab the Moonology deck, one sec. Okay, so we are going to pick a Moonology card here. And one just jumped right on out. Communication is key. New moon in Gemini. So it's really interesting. All of those swords from 6 months ago are really still speaking up. They're like, hey, you're not really fully done with this journey. If there are any fixed signs out there that picked this pile, I know you're going through it. We've got this T-square with the nodes and the sun and the moon, and then whatever's going on with you and those fixed signs. So communication is really key here, making sure that you put it outside of yourself, but it's more communication to the self, right? Like we were talking about. You can absolutely, I don't want you to isolate yourself completely and not speak to other people, but it is really important to speak to yourself, honestly. It's going to take some strength. It always takes strength to be really honest with the self. But here it's going to take a quieter strength for you. So I hope that was helpful for you, pile one. I'm sending you the best, and I'm sending you all my love. I will see you guys next time. All right, pile two, I have got your rose quartz pendulum here. Love this one. Plus it's got the energy of all of these seven colored stones to represent the 7 chakras. So rose quartz, as I'm sure you know, is all about accepting love into your life. And also that includes self-love. And love does not have to be just romantic. It's platonic. It's an emotional subject. If you want to know about a love reading, I just did one a little while ago. I think it was last week. And so you can check that out after this. But for now, let's look at the full moon in Leo. I'm going to use a couple of decks here. So we're going to start with where you are now. Where you are now, especially in regards to Leo, of course, when I picked this deck up, I saw this card come out and I was like, I'm sure this is going to show up. We've got the 7 of Wands. Right now, it feels like you're really putting in the work. It feels like you're putting in the personal work to make sure that you have like a solid presentation to others. And Leo is really fixated on how it appears, how it looks to others. You'll hear that like Leos tend to always be looking in the mirrors. It's the best gift to give a Leo. I'm a Leo rising. I love the hair. So for you, there's something about really presenting yourself, but presenting yourself clearly, because we've got this Ace of Swords. So clearing out any fog, clearing out any miscommunication almost, in case those retrograde periods were really strong for you. I almost feel like there's some sort of communication that needs to happen with your loved ones, or even with in a professional setting, that you need to like clear. What is the phrase that I'm trying to think of? That you're trying to clean the slate, essentially, and start over with people, with relationships. So if you are an Aquarius rising, this full moon is really happening in your 1st and 7th house. I don't know if there's anyone out there who is an Aquarius rising, but there's probably a large focus on relationships and a large focus on being able to make sure that people are seeing you very clearly. It's going to be really important for you to communicate very clearly. I can't say any other word but clear, and it's sounding like a different word now, but it is so important for you to make sure that how you are coming across is the way that you want to come across, being really intentional with the way that people are seeing you, with the perspective that you are giving people. So that is where you are right now. Let's see where you were 6 months ago. August 7th was the new moon in Leo, sort of started this whole cycle. We had the 6 of Wands. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of the picture now. Anything else? There we go. And the Chariot, yeah. So 6 months ago, it almost felt like you were untamable. It was all about you. There was something about you that that you really felt it necessary to feed your own ego. You needed to be seen. You needed to be heard. You needed to be validated. And I don't mean that in like a very, negative way. It just means that like you were in a point in your cycle, in your journey, where you needed to be seen. You needed to feel like you existed and like people acknowledged that you existed, which meant that maybe you acted in ways that were rash, or in ways that were confrontational, or that maybe opposed your original stance. You know, the Chariot is all about opposing forces. There's usually a black Sphinx and a white Sphinx, and they're pulling the reins together. They're moving the Chariot together. So there's forward movement, and these two opposing forces are trying to work together in the way to get movement going. So 6 months ago, where you were was very fiery. The Six of Wands and this particular Chariot is very fire to me. So I think that now you're kind of doing some correction, right? Some like correction of the way that 6 months ago you may have treated others, or 6 months ago the way that some people treated you, and now you're correcting the way they treated you, or you're correcting the way that now you present yourself. So that's what's really important here. Let's look at what your joy looks like. Okay, and I feel like there's sort of a lack of joy right now. I'm feeling like you're sort of going along like by rote, you know, you have like this robotic way of going along. You're very much in a pattern, possibly in a rut. So let's see what your joy looks like. There we go, there's one. We've got the King of Swords, and we've got the Nine of Swords. Interesting. I think there is, and this just goes back to what I was just saying, I think there's a struggle to really sit in your joy. And I'm feeling the urge to slow down now. This King of Swords, I think you do intellectualize, or you are always communicating, which is great. You're making connections with other people, but it almost feels like you're not really connecting to the words that you're saying to others. And again, this Nine of Swords speaks of clarity, that there's sort of a lack of clarity when it comes to what your heart wants, right? Leo rules the heart. Leo rules your heart's desires and your deepest wants, not needs, but your wants, just what would make you happy. And I think there's some sort of fogginess surrounding that. There's something maybe that you feel is stopping you from being able to acknowledge what would make you happy. Maybe judgment of self. This King of Swords, what I think also, if we're going to look at this just purely like the question that I asked of what does your joy look like? Your joy looks like communication with others. Your joy looks like transparency with others. It looks like being able to unload some of your fears and worries and anxieties. And it's also being supportive of other people as they go through this Nine of Swords moment. I love this cat that's here on the King of Swords. Almost like your joy looks like somebody backing you up, that loyalty that Leo has, having somebody there. So you know you always have somebody on your side. You always have somebody on your team. And that goes back to the relationship thing. I feel like there's some sort of miscommunication with a very close friend or a close family member, somebody that you really held dear to your heart at one point, and now there's been some sort of separation. And so it's important for you, especially this full moon in Leo, to really communicate and clear up all of those words that may have been said, especially during retrograde season, Venus and Mercury retrograde, to really re-establish the relationship and re-establish the foundations upon which that relationship was built. What your joy looks like, I just think there's sort of a struggle to really experience that joy right now because you're very much in your head. But when you're not in your head, your version of joy looks like deep connection through communication with your loved ones. All right, let's see. What is the best way for you to push yourself right now? The full moon is all about manifestation. It's about movement. It's about an amalgamation of energy. So what is the best way to push yourself right now to really sit in that joy and creativity? Look at that. We got the Chariot. So something about what you were doing 6 months ago was right. And here are those opposing forces I was talking about. In this deck in particular, it's a crossroads. So there's a black sign and a white sign. They're pointing different directions. So the best way to push yourself is to just make a choice and just decide, just go with something. It doesn't have to be a lifetime commitment. If you're like, well, maybe this will make me happy, but I don't know. So should I really do it? Yes, just do it. That's the only way you're going to find out if it really does bring you joy, if it really does bring you that sense of self-expression. That creative outlet that we all need. And creative doesn't mean, oh, you're painting on a wall, or you are, you're drawing something, or you are writing something, poetry, beautiful, like creative is just an energy within us that we all have. And sometimes creativity is what motivates us to go outside and make a snow angel. It doesn't have to be a big life-changing thing to be creative. It's just an expression of self. So the best way to push yourself is almost to go back into the energy of what you were doing 6 months ago that maybe seemed untamed, but maybe that was a version of you speaking your truth, which is really important for Leo, to be able to feel safe to speak their truth or to live their truth. They're less about speaking, they're more about just living their truth. So there's an element of what you did 6 months ago or who you were 6 months ago that really was aligned with who you are and what you're meant to be doing. Maybe you were just going about it the wrong way. So continue living your truth. And if other people see that as extremely bold or extremely untamed, maybe then rein it in, especially if those are people that you love and that you trust and that you want to be there for you as a support because all they want is what's best for you. If they're saying like, hey, that's a bit much, maybe give them the benefit of the doubt rather than, thinking that they're trying to bring you down. Again, this is only for those people that you do really trust and that you do really love and that you support and they support you. But to really entrust that with other people rather than, and that comes back to that miscommunication of taking anything somebody says as like intense criticism. Maybe it's just them trying to help you and trying to guide you on your way. Okay, so that is the best way to really push yourself, is to make the choices, make the decisions, embody that ability to live your truth that you were living 6 months ago, just in a different way, and to really allow yourself to rely and to entrust in those people in your life because they're not trying to hurt you. They really do want to support you. That's what I'm feeling anyway. And this is a lesson in learning how to trust those people and also in learning how to trust your own gut. So I'm going to pick a card from this Moonology deck just to see what you're dealing with. That's 3 cards, so we're just going to do a little shuffle of the 3. Well, I see this guy feels pretty potent. The energy is gaining momentum. That is the waxing moon. So yeah, that chariot, and I think you were given that momentum, you were given that inertia, that energy, that excitement, and you just didn't know what to do with it. And now over the last 6 months, you've sort of learned how to work with that energy in a less chaotic and uncontrolled manner. And if there's any time to feel uncontrolled and chaotic, it is Aquarius season, but it's also comfortable with that energy. So it's able to rein it in a little bit more and able to control it and tame it a little bit more. So right now it is really about taming that wild energy that you do have within yourself to be able to have a more focused expression of self. So I hope that was helpful for you. I'm sending you so much love. Let me know in the comments what's going on, what resonated. And I will see you guys next time. All right, pile 3, we have got your chakra pendulum, as I call it. It's got all 7 colors of the chakra energy centers. So we're going to be looking at where you are now, where you were 6 months ago when the moon was in Leo and it was the new moon, which was August 7th, and what your joy looks like, how you can push yourself, all those good things. So we are going to start with this Muse Tarot deck to see where you are right now. When cards fall out like that. Okay, here we go. Where you are right now, we got the World. We're going to see what else you've got. Wow. You got the World and you got the Star. These are 2 majors for where you are right now. It almost feels like there's so much potential that the World has to offer you, and it is so overwhelming. It could just be that there's so much stimulation going on, but it almost feels like there's so much potential for positivity right now. There's so much potential for growth and excitement, but I'm really feeling the sense of fear. And the World is ruled by Saturn, the planet of restriction and abundance. So it's interesting that those 2 topics are tied into that one planet. That what is it about abundance that scares us, right? Because Saturn rules restriction, it rules fears, anxiety, worry, but it also rules putting in that hard work and reaping the rewards of that hard work. So there's something about the fear of the work that you're putting in and what happens when you reap all of those rewards. Almost as though, and this ties into Leo for sure and Aquarius, as though you don't feel like you deserve those rewards. You put in the work. And even if you don't think that you put in the work, you did. So despite whether it was conscious or not, you are really putting the weight of the entire world on your shoulders, you know, that's very Aquarian, very humanitarian. And this star is literally ruled by Aquarius. So there's this sense of a future that you really do see. You're seeing this potential of the future, of a brightness and excitement, and of finally reaping all of the rewards of the hard work that you've put in. But at the same time, there's still a fear and an inability to let go of the control too. That when things succeed, when things go well, then what do I do? How do I control all of that energy? It almost feels like, for those of you that are, you know, like running a business, or maybe even have your own content that you create, like there's something about like, wow, I'm hitting it big now. How do I deal with hitting it big? How do I deal with getting all of these sales, with getting a lot of customers, with gaining success? And so I think that's something that you're really working on now, allowing yourself to believe that you deserve that success, that you deserve that joy. So let's see where you were 6 months ago. And I want to use this Everyday Witch deck. All of the names of the decks are in the description below, by the way. I know I have some questions from people sometimes who are like, what are the names of the decks? They're in the description. Where you were 6 months ago. We've got the King of Cups and we've got Temperance. Interesting. It almost felt like everything was fine. You had mastered everything that you were trying to master. It felt like you were in a good position, but it didn't feel like there was much that was pushing you, right? It just felt like, okay, I know where I'm at. I know that I'm succeeding. I know that I'm doing good. But there wasn't that level of discomfort that was saying, hey, like you really need to be pushing yourself because there's even more potential that you could be attaining here. And you've got Temperance. You're very much the epitome of, or like, it's almost like you looked like you were the epitome of balance, and that you had all of your ducks in a row, and that you were serene, but at the same time you were motivated and ambitious. So 6 months ago, it almost felt like it didn't feel stagnant at the time, but now that you have all of this overwhelm or all of this stimulation, 6 months ago you does seem a little bit slower, or does seem a little bit stagnant, or like it was in a bit of a rut. You were in a bit of a rut. But there was also the comfort there. That King of Cups, he's very comfortable with the emotions. He's very comfortable with his intuition. He's very comfortable with his position. He has everything he needs just from this little island. But think about how much bigger this little island could grow to be. So that Temperance of knowing that there was, I almost feel like you knew there was expansion coming at some point, but you just were like, not right now though. I'm good where I am right now. And where you are right now, 6 months later, is okay, I am being filled to the brim to the point that I really do need to expand. I do really need to grow. So let's look at what your joy looks like, because that is what Leo is all about. Expression of self, joy, happiness, and so many cards fell out. That one of them was the Knight of Wands, and that one I'm going to have over, but I'm going to shuffle from this smaller little pile that fell out. Oh, wait, there you are. What your expression of joy looks like. Oh, I think you're still working on it. I mean, we all are. But you've got the Page of Wands and you've got the Knight of Wands. So both of these younger court cards in Wands, it's like you recently discovered what really ignited that fire, what really ignited that inspiration and excitement and that joy. And look at this yellow and red that they are really wearing here. You know, these are the bright colors of the solar plexus of the root chakra. So the solar plexus is all about sitting in your power, being comfortable in your power, and the root chakra is all about feeling safe and secure. So what is it? Are you going to stay where you feel really safe, but you don't feel like you're really chasing that powerful feeling that you have when you're really in alignment with your heart's desires, right? Leo rules the heart, and it rules what your heart really wants. Or are you going to push yourself to a point where maybe you feel a little uncomfortable, maybe you don't feel you're most secure or most controlled, but you know that there is this forward movement and excitement and this future that you can't envision without moving forward, without taking action. So that is what your joy looks like, is taking a risk. That's really how simple it can be, is just taking that risk and knowing that it can pay off, right? Reaping those rewards again, and that you do deserve those rewards. So let's look at how you can push yourself which I think we already sort of touched on, but we'll continue touching on it. How you can really push yourself. There we go. Oh, I love this. I don't know if you can hear the click-clacking of my dog in the background. She's going insane. But how you can really push yourself here, you got the Queen of Cups, where earlier you had the King of Cups, and you got the Sun, which is freaking ruled by Leo. Amazing. How you can really push yourself is expanding. Look at this King of Cups. He's like, no, I'm good. I know exactly what I want. I can see everything that I own right here. But the Queen of Cups is like, I can't really see everything that's beyond the brush, but I know it's there. And I know that I have the capability to go over there whenever I want. But for now, I'm going to be here, right? Allowing some of that fluidity to embody that fluidity, to feel that freedom. I think that is really what's important, is pushing yourself to not feel so rigidly like this is what I need to be doing, or this is how I know I'm successful. Allowing yourself to be fluid in your emotions about how you're feeling about where you are right now, rather than being so overwhelmed or worried or nervous about where you're going. Just sitting in right now, expressing yourself, sitting in the joy, allowing yourself to recognize the abundance that you have. And I know a lot of these things are very general, but I think that's almost like the basic things that you do need to be doing right now, is sitting in the abundance, but also sitting in that discomfort. Okay, I know I have to move. I know I have to take a risk. And that risk is really going to pay off too. There's a lot going on with pregnancy here. We've got this Queen of Cups who's pregnant. We've got this Sun card where she's pregnant, and the Sun does rule children. So maybe there's something about the decision to start a family, or maybe you're pregnant now and there's a lot of fear and overwhelm about where you are and what kind of mother you're going to be, and like the future of this entire being that is in your body. Maybe not mother, just a parent. So yeah, I think there's just like that sense of overwhelm. And if you're not, about to start a family, think about that intense life change. That's sort of the energy you're dealing with, is, okay, I know I'm making a change. I've agreed to make this change. I've put in the work and I've always wanted to make this change. So why am I suddenly so afraid? Because it makes you uncomfortable, and because it's the unknown. So allow yourself to be a little bit more fluid, let go of some of that control, and just move forward with it. Move with this energy, which, like, that is so hippy dippy. All right. So we are going to pull a card from the Moonology deck. Here we go. Just to see where you're at. It's the full moon, so I love to pick a full moon card or a Moonology card. And what'd you get? Nothing is yet set in stone, mutable moon. Perfect. This is literally exactly what I was saying. Allowing yourself to go with the flow. Nothing is set in stone, especially, you're making this life change, or you're experiencing this overwhelm and a lot of stimulation. Nothing is permanent. Allow yourself to accept the temporary situation that you are in right now. You don't have to look like you have it all together. That is definitely something. You are allowed to delegate to other people. You are allowed to say, hey, I'm really struggling here, right? Expressing yourself, communicating from the heart, and also saying what it is that you do want, so that you can be as clear as possible to others, but also really to yourself. So I hope that was helpful. I'm sending you a lot of love, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.